Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Sunday Snippets. And this is the very last of the backup and sync class that Wendy did in 2020 members classes. So if you want to watch the whole entire backup class, go ahead in and watch that. But this one is going to be just about the different types of backups. So I hope you enjoy this little Sunday snippet and have a great day. Bye for now.
Okay, so the question came up before, how many copies of files do you want? Okay, so this, we call this the 3-2-1 backup strategy. So you want 3 copies of your data in a minimum of 2 types of media in at least one offsite location, or the cloud is also considered an offsite location. So when you're talking about 3 copies, so you might have your laptop, your external hard drive, and a cloud service. So that could be your 3 copies, right? 2 types of storage media. So your computer is, like, say my computer has a solid state drive, that's one. A spinning external hard drive, that's another. You could put it on a CD-ROM, that would be another type of media. The cloud is another type of media. So the problem is different types of media, all media fails eventually. So by putting it on different types of media, you reduce the risk that all of those are going to fail at the same time in the same way. And then in at least one offsite location, if something happens to your house or your laptop, wherever it is you have it, you don't want all of your copies to be in the same physical location. I had a friend who lost her entire house to a tornado, but all of her files were able to be restored, all of her photos, all of her digital scrapbooks, because she had them in an offsite location. Now, there are easy ways to do that, and there's hard ways to do that. The easy way, of course, is in the cloud through a backup service, which we're going to get to in a minute. Or the hard way would be copying them onto CDs, external hard drives, taking them over to your parents' house, mailing them to a cousin, having them, in your office instead of your home. But even if they're in the same town and there's some kind of, physical natural disaster, it could affect both of your copies. The ideal scenario for me, the way I think, is a backup service, because they actually are storing them on their massive drives that they have in these data centers, and they actually back your data up a number of times as well. So, they may have a backup center in Texas and another one in Wisconsin, and so your data, even though you're only backing it up once, they're backing it up in additional places to make sure they can get it back to you. So that is the 3-2-1 backup: 3 copies, 2 types of media in at least one offsite location. So does anybody have any questions about that?
I'm just kind of answering questions individually,
Okay.
so I don't see anything. What's the easiest way to back? I'll probably ask them at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we talked about sync and what to sync. What do you want to back up? There's a lot more things that you probably want to back up than you want to sync, because backup is kind of everything, right? You want to make sure you have all of your files backed up. So photos, that may mean, for me, I like all my photos in one place, so that I can make sure that they're being backed up well to many places, because that to me is the most important thing. When we had the very first digital camera, like so many years ago, it was like a 1 megapixel camera, and we ended up losing all of those photos. So we learned our lesson the hard way. They weren't great photos by today's standards. They probably would have been like tiny little thumbnails, but it was devastating to lose those. So I back photos up in so many different ways in so many different places, it's probably like overkill. But that also means that I need to take photos from my phone, my DSLR camera cards, my tablet. I want them to be all in one place where I know all the originals live. Some people will use Google Photos for that, even though it's a little bit compressed. For me, that's Lightroom. So I copy them all onto my computer, and use Lightroom to access them. And then I back all of that up in multiple places. Other things we might back up are supplies and layouts, of course, databases. So if you use Apple Photo, if you use Lightroom, if you use Elements Organizer, that's the next one. Anything that is a database type thing, people don't think about it, but you want to make sure that you're backing up those databases. A lot of backup software is not going to automatically pull those things. So you want to make sure you go in and make sure they're getting backed up. Documents. So any of the documents files that are on your computer, any types of things that you might save. I mean, you know, you probably have all kinds of documents like I do, tax documents, letters that I type up, resumes, you know, all those kind of things that you would create and store on your computer. For me, also, it's like all of the files I use to create my classes, all of the videos I do, any content that you create, even if it's personal, might not even be work related, all those things need to get backed up. Your fonts and sometimes your system files, those are often excluded. So if you want to be sure that your backup is picking those things up, if those are important to you. Fonts, I have a ton of fonts, I wouldn't want to lose them. And so that's something that I make sure that I am backing up. There might be, I don't think I put this in here. I thought I did, but maybe it comes up later. The other thing in Elements and Photoshop, your presets, and in full Photoshop and not Elements, like things like actions and things like that, you can save those out and back those up as well. And at the end, if we have time, I'll pop over and show you how to do that. So what are your options for backing up your files versus syncing? So as somebody mentioned, external hard drives. The pros of that, they're inexpensive. You can get a lot of space on them. You can connect multiple of them to one hub and just plug in that hub and see all of your external hard drives. The cons are that external hard drives, the spinning ones, they go bad quickly. Usually within 2 years. Sometimes you can get them last a little bit longer. It depends how often they kind of get spun up and spun down. You will generally start noticing like a clicking noise if they're starting to go bad. Sometimes they'll start taking a long time to mount. If those things start happening, you want to go get a new one and immediately get all your stuff copied. So for me, I have, I think, 4 hard drives hooked up to my thing. And so it's basically 2 hard drives, and then I back up those 2 hard drives onto 2 other hard drives. And then those hard drives get backed up to the cloud. So that would be my multiple physical locations. And I've got multiple copies here because you cannot trust your external hard drives. They will go bad. Solid state drives are much safer than the spinning drives. They generally do not go bad, but they are a lot more expensive. So if you need multiple terabytes of data, that's going to be super, super expensive. For example, I think I have a 4 terabyte drive, an 8 terabyte drive, and then I think I have a 3 and a 2. That's going to be a lot more expensive than the spinning drives, you know, which are probably like $150 or less. So that's the big difference there. But they're super convenient, and you can get fast access to your files. If you need to restore something onto your computer that you have backed up, it's there, it's immediate, and it's, you know, it's easy to access. So that's the great thing about those. They're also, if you have did I talk about this? Yeah, I'll get there in a second. If you have a desktop, you can leave it hooked up to those drives kind of full time, and your backups can just be automatically constantly happening in the background. If you have a laptop, it's not so easy because you're probably mobile, and so you're not connected to those hard drives all the time. You need to make sure that if you're running backups to those, that you're plugging in regularly to make sure it gets done. Another backup option that I recommend, and let me just say up front, there are other options. I'm just presenting the 3 that I personally recommend. So for a cloud service, the next option would be Backblaze. Backblaze is really inexpensive for what you get. $6 a month per computer, unlimited storage, but you only have a 30-day history, which again, we talked about is not necessarily the best option. So for me personally, I prefer a backup option that has more than a 30-day history. Now, what that 30-day history means is as long as that file is accessed in some way within 30 days, it will still keep it. It's not just that that photo was like,
Thrown away.
yeah, so if you like have a file and you save a new version of it, it's still going to keep the older one because you changed it. But if you like deleted something and there wasn't ever reopened, then in 30 days it's gone. So that would be one downside of Backblaze. Backblaze will back up your external hard drive as long as they remain connected to your main computer. So again, that works really well for desktops because they're pretty much always connected. So you can back up your external hard drives through Backblaze at $6 a month for unlimited storage. That's a really, really good deal. That's why a lot of people use it. Now, if you have a laptop, it doesn't work very well because every time you unplug, then Backblaze has to go in, rescan those hard drives, figure out what's changed, and it bogs up when you're talking about the kind of files that scrapbookers work with. If you didn't have a lot of photos and layouts and supplies, like maybe that would work. But when you have like an 8 terabyte drive, to have to rescan that every time you plug your laptop in is just not a very good option. With Backblaze, if you need to restore your files, you can do that for free by download, or you can order from them a restore drive where they'll send you a flash drive or an external hard drive. They usually charge you like $100 or $200, and then when you return it, they refund that money. So that's one way to be able to restore a lot of data much quicker. So those are the good things about Backblaze. If you need that more than 30-day history, you can pay an additional fee for that. And they charge you, like you can get 1 year, and then files older than 1 year, when you go in to restore them, they're going to charge you per gigabyte. So it's a very complex kind of algorithm they have there, but you do have that option if you pay for that extra storage year. How Backblaze works, you create an account, you download the software and install it, then you decide what to back up, and then you can control some of the settings. Let me flip over here.